Why play Ryze Mid? Well, he brings incredible wave clear. He is a great team fighter, his ability to roam and teleport can win multiple lanes, and he's a pretty safe mid lane pick. However, he does have shorter range, which means he can get poked out of lane, and he can be mana hungry in the early game before he gets items. Ryze's passive is his spells deal additional damage based on his bonus mana, and his maximum mana is increased by 10% per 100 ability power. Ryze's Q has a passive where landing a W or E instantly refreshes this ability's cooldown and charges a rune for 4 seconds, and he can store up to 2 runes at one time. The active is a straight line skill shot which deals damage to the first enemy hit. If the target has flux on them from Ryze's E, this ability deals additional damage and bounces to nearby enemies also affected with the flux. And if 2 runes were charged by using E and W before Q, Ryze also grants himself a large burst of movement speed for 2 seconds. Ryze's W is a point and click ability which deals damage and applies a slow. If the target's affected by flux, it consumes the flux and roots the enemy instead. Ryze's E is also a point and click ability which deals damage and applies flux onto the target and all nearby enemies for 3 seconds. If the target hit was already affected by flux, it causes the flux to spread even further. Ryze's ultimate has a passive where it increases his Q's damage against targets marked with flux by a large amount. The active causes Ryze to open a portal to a nearby location, and after 2 seconds, all allied units, including champions and minions, teleport to this new area. However, if Ryze receives any CC effect during this time, his ultimate will be cancelled. Combos are an important part of Ryze's kit, with him having different ones for different situations. Firstly, it's worth mentioning, his combo for clearing a wave is to use E on the wave. It's unlikely you apply flux to all minions on the first one, so use your E again on a minion already affected with flux, and then Q one of the minions to clear them all out. A great quick trade for Ryze is to Q into E, Q into W, and then Q again for a large chunk of damage. And a great one for maximum single target damage is to Q into E before using another Q and an auto attack. From here, use W then Q, E then Q, and then another auto attack for a massive burst of damage. For matchups, Ryze can struggle against champions who stop him getting into range or can abuse his low mobility. However, he's great into champions that can't stop his insane wave clear and let him get to his 2-item power spike. For runes, take this. Phase Rush has great synergy with his kit and makes up for a lot of his lack of mobility. For build orders, start Tier M Pot into Rod of Ages, Tier 2 boots, and an Archangel staff. From here, Azonya's is a great defensive choice before getting a hat and a void staff, with all of these other items being good situationally. For skill orders, start W, then E, then Q, before maxing Q, then E, then W, taking ult whenever you can. For summoner spells, take Flash and Teleport. Ryze's early game isn't the strongest, and his main focus will be on hard farming to get Rod of Ages as soon as possible. However, Ryze is great at 2 things, which is controlling the wave and throwing out burst damage. Against ranged matchups, you'll often want to just push the wave in, and then get a free back, roam, or take raptors. However, against melee matchups, you have 2 abilities that are point and click, so they simply can't hide from you. Every time they come up to farm, an E into W Q is a chunk of damage that they simply can't avoid. And of course, when you hit level 6, you now have insane pressure in your side lanes, being able to teleport down and get some kills. Entering the mid game, get yourself into a side lane for all the extra golden experience before grouping up with your team for objectives. Entering late game team fights, you want to play the backline mage, and your main focus is on keeping yourself safe, as long as you're safe to keep doing damage, the damage comes naturally. Since Ryze is a shorter range mage, just attack the thing in front of you. His insane scaling along with a quantity of spells will destroy their front line, and the flux will bounce around killing everything else.